Hello everyone, and welcome to my Days of Our Lives official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. As Everett insists he's not Jada's husband, Stephanie comes to an unsettling consummation. Still in their marriage vesture at the sanitarium, Johnny and Chanel stand with Abe at Paulina's bedside. Kayla tells them they got all the cancer out. Paulina might have some difficulty speaking, and she'll allow me to stay in the sanitarium for follow-ups, but for now, all she needs is a lot of rest. Kayla congratulates Johnny and Chanel on their marriage and welcomes them to the Valentine's Day Anniversary Club. After Constantine's home-cooked mess, he and Maggie talk in the living room. Maggie was inspired to see Doug and Julie so spirited after so important fermentation and recounts the kitties lighting up over Constantine's sweetened hearts. Constantine gives her a Valentine's Day card. He doesn't want to cross any boundaries, he just wants to tell her how important she means to him. At the cantina with Stephanie and Rafe, a heaving Jada declares that Everett is Herrick's husband, Bobby Stein. Everett insists he's no way met her ahead. Rafe tries to calm Jada by suggesting the two men just look like. Jada knows that behind Everett's beard is the man who broke her heart and her spirit. She furiously scrolls through her phone and shows him their engagement print. Everett acknowledges his resemblance to the clean-divested man, but muses they all have doppelgangers. Jada exclaims she'll haul him down to the station to point him and prove he's Robert Stein. Further, Jada warns Stephanie about Everett in Day's promo at the cantina. Everett glowers at Jada. Next to him, Stephanie casts a guarded yet sympathetic aspect at her. At the sanitarium, Kayla gives Paulina a whiteboard to communicate and leaves. Johnny and Chanel offer to get her anything she needs. Paulina writes that she has everything she needs right there. A nanny comes in with a cutlet delivered by Chanel's workers. Paulina writes for them to save her a piece when she's allowed to eat. The nanny finds Kayla at the Mecca to tell her she's invited for cutlet in the price room. Also, Tripp hasn't shown up for his shift. Kayla calls and leaves a couple of dispatches for him. After they bandy Greek vacation traditions, Victor and Constantine's fondness for the little bones. Maggie asks if Constantine has any children of his own. He somberly explains he'd a son named Katharina. She was everything to him, but there was a woeful accident. Maggie commiserates over the pain of losing a child. He further explains that he adored Katharina's mama, but their marriage didn't survive her death. Further new characters added to Fire Country. Rafe wraps a probative arm around Jada, who wrings her hands. In front of them, Everett furrows his brow at Stephanie. At the cantina, Everett measuredly asks Rafe if it's possible Jada is losing it. Jada goes off, criminating him of gaslighting her. When she discovered he cheated on her, she served him with divorce papers, but he turned into a ghost. Everett repeats that he's not Bobby. They were no way married. A reflective Stephanie interrupts, recalling that Everett said he'd retrograde amnesia when he first woke up from his coma. Perhaps that's why he doesn't flash back Jada. Rafe doesn't know what to believe, but offers to look into it. Everett has nothing to hide. Jada can tell by the look in his eyes that he knows her and that he's the same lying, cheating son of a bitch. Everett sticks to his story while calling her cuts insane. Rafe suggests they call it a night. Jada pleads with Stephanie not to allow herself to be obliged longer than she formerly has been. She also warns Everett that he'll be set up out and get what he deserves. Rafe follows Jada as she storms out. Further originals. W.A.T. Cast member out before series homestretch occasion in the sanitarium. Abe holds a cutlet box as Johnny cuts into it. Wearing her marriage dress, Chanel watches. In bed, Paulina gates on Chanel's arm. Johnny pulls out his guitar in Paulina's room and serenades his bridegroom. When he's done, the newlyweds spoon until Paulina winces in pain. Chanel runs out for the croaker. Kayla rushes back as Paulina arrives on her bed. Maggie tells Constantine she's always there if he needs to talk. He appreciates that and asks if he can kiss her. She leans in for a peck. He bids her a good night and leaves the room. Maggie looks affected. Further, Xander's smart for a change on the Horton Square bench. A distraught Jada faces Rafe. In the square, Rafe catches up with Jada, who rants about Everett. Rafe says he's hung out with Everett many times. He seems like a decent Joe. Jada's eyes outrage. You suppose I am the bone? That's lying, ain't you? Of course not, but they need to be careful with her allegations. All Jada knows is that as soon as she saw Everett, all the old injuries opened up. She says Rafe doesn't know what Bobby did to her and what he might do to Stephanie. Jada wants to go to the station right now and unturn all the monuments on Everett Lynch. Because it's important to her, it's important to Rafe, but he reminds her it's late and still Valentine's Day. He promises to get to the bottom of it hereafter. For now, he suggests they go home and order her favorite food. She weakly agrees. He embraces her, promising to find out what's going on. Further, could Everett/Bobby be behind the attacks on Salem? Alone with Everett at the cantina, Stephanie asks, "Are you really not Bobby Stein?" Everett declares Jada is a complete foreigner to him. Stephanie again wonders if he doesn't flash back his life with Jada because of the accident. He admits there are gaps in his memory, but not times or entire connections. He flash back getting wedded. Stephanie recalls Everett telling her he bought her an engagement ring before the accident, followed by Jada relating how she set up a large credit card charge from a jewelry store, but Bobby hadn't bought her anything in months. Affrighted, Stephanie tells Everett that if Jada is telling the verity, and he's Bobby, also she's the other woman. Maintaining his station, Everett wants to go back to his room and talk about it. She doesn't suppose it's a good idea and leaves. In the Kiriaki's living room, an emotional Maggie admires Victor's portrayal. She regards Constantine's card and also blows Victor's portrayal a kiss. Eyes welling, she puts her hand over her heart. In his room, a forlorn Constantine drinks. He looks at Katharina's print and cries. Coming on Days of Our Lives, Brady confides in Marlena, and Sloane reflections to Melinda. Please note that if you buy commodity by clicking on a link within this story, we may admit a small commission of the trade. Teresa throws a hissy fit when she doesn't get her way. Days of Our Lives spoilers for Tuesday, February 20th are a portrayal of a woman scorned when Teresa punishes Alex for not doing commodity she assumed he wanted to do. He led her on by failing to live up to her inaccurate prospects. Hall. I am taking my ball and going home. Teresa set up a ring in Alex's jacket fund. She assumed he was going to propose. She assumed he was going to propose on Valentine's Day. She anticipated her ring at breakfast. She anticipated her ring during a romantic walk in the Domain. She anticipated her ring over regale. When it failed to materialize, Teresa threw a fit and blazoned to Alex that she'd be moving out. How dare he string her along like this? By doing nothing, no lower. The Parent Trap. Brady celebrated Valentine's Day by getting into a screaming match with Kristen. Not that Kristen doesn't earn being screamed at. Kristen should be screamed at from morning to night. But perhaps not in front of Rachel, who's a brat of monumental proportions. But having her parents constantly screaming at each other isn't going to help that. Brady feels super guilty. So he confides in his mammy the shrink. Meanwhile, Sloane could presumably use a shrink herself to deal with her covetousness over baby Jude stealing Eric's attention. Sloane, sweetie pie, what did you anticipate? The man made it clear he was only marrying you in order to come a pater. He told you. You refused to hear. But Sloane ain't veritably well talked to Eric's mama about her issues. Good thing Melinda has nothing better to do. Vengeance circular just in case Ava and Stefan allowed. They could wriggle off the medicine-dealing hook Clyde baited for them. The fire at the Horton house and Harris's firing put an end to that fantasy. To drive the assignment home, Stefan repeats it to Ava. But, grounded on her jest. In the sanitarium tabernacle, she got the communication loud and clear. Or did she?